The organization that I investigated for the Real Utopias project is the Dreamcatcher Foundation. It's based out of Chicago, Illinois, and was founded in 2008. It is self described as survivor led, survivor driven, and survivor focused. It was founded by Stephanie Daniels Wilson and Brenda Myers Powell, who are both survivors of sex trafficking. The mission of the Dreamcatcher Foundation is to prevent the sexual exploitation of at risk youth and help them find confidence and stability through education, empowerment, and active prevention. Complementary to this is their vision, which is to create an environment in which victims of human trafficking can be empowered, educated, and self confident. The Dreamcatcher Foundation has a wide array of programs, all serving their mission and vision of working with victims of sex trafficking and at risk youth. These programs range from healing and recovery spaces, which include safe houses and the newly funded Dream Center, which is a community service building offering all resources that victims may need while healing. It also includes health services like STD testing, emotional and psychological services as support for victims, personal development services to help victims achieve educational, professional, and personal goals, including mentorships with other survivors, and educational services such as tutoring. Even more programs include workshops in the community for survivors, community awareness, and training for public workers such as police officers. There was a lot to dive into when getting a context for the issues that the Dreamcatcher Foundation deals with. As we all know, sex trafficking is a crippling issue in the United States and globally. The statistics I found were staggering and painted a picture of the community that the Dreamcatcher Foundation serves. To narrow it down a bit, I wanted to highlight some of these statistics. 16,000 to 25,000 women and girls are involved in commercial sex trade annually. More than 300,000 young people in the US are considered at risk of sexual exploitation. And in Chicago alone, where the Dreamcatcher Foundation is based, it affects up to 25,000 young people each year. One of the questions that I had posed in my inquiry plan actually helped me analyze the other questions I was interested in. How does the Dreamcatcher Foundation structure set it apart from other organizations? What I found were some key elements that echoed Alvord, Brown, and Lett's study of social entrepreneurship. The characteristics I discovered that seemed to really be at the heart of the Dreamcatcher Foundation were catalyzing social transformation, expansion through external relations, and community-led initiative. So let's dive more into these. Among the three viewpoints of social entrepreneurship, Alvord, Brown, and Letts identified catalyzing social transformation, explaining, quote, social entrepreneurship at its best produces small changes in the short term that reverberate through existing systems to catalyze large changes in the longer term. Of these three viewpoints, the Dreamcatcher Foundation seemed to fit this description best. The goals and programs of the Dreamcatcher Foundation focus in on the small ways of impacting sex trafficking victims, raising awareness, and working to aid at-risk youth. These small actions, whether it be meeting someone on the sidewalk with a sandwich or reaching out just to start a conversation, create a larger network, providing resources and building a community that can in turn cultivate larger changes within our culture, hopefully to someday prevent sex trafficking altogether. A great example of this is that after 12 years of these intentional individual needs being met among victims, in 2020, one of the founders, Barbara Myers Powell, was appointed to the US Advisory Council on Human Trafficking. At this elevated level, Barbara's voice is amplified and represents all of the victims that she has closely worked with. Expansion through external relations. Alvord, Brown, and Letts emphasize the importance of both internal organizational members as well as external relations, referring here to those outside of the organization, such as collaborators. They state external relations have become increasingly important as the initiative itself becomes more visible and possibly controversial. The Dreamcatcher Foundation works extensively with community partners and collaborators. These include relationships with the police force to perform training on working with victims of sex trafficking on the streets, relationships with community centers and schools who play host to awareness events, relationships with community funders to enable important expansions like the Dream Center. And in 2014, this included a group that was referred to as the Coalition, a partnership with local and global organizations, including the JUF Governmental Affairs, the Congregation Judea Mitzpah, and the Chicago Alliance Against Sexual Exploitation. Along with the Dreamcatcher Foundation, these organizations teamed up to spread awareness to the public and provide education for survivors. Finally, a theme that I found throughout the work of the Dreamcatcher Foundation, really at every turn, was their emphasis on being survivor-founded, survivor-driven, and survivor-focused. From the founders to volunteers to collaborators, the Dreamcatcher Foundation is able to really harness that individual experience that they have had to endure to connect with those that they serve. There are numerous organizations of this kind in the US, but the Dreamcatcher Foundation has a unique perspective. In the next slide, you'll see a video highlighting one of the founders, Brenda, and the Dreamcatcher Foundation's work. You'll notice, as I did, that her first interaction with the victims on the street is, "Do you need some condoms?" This may seem like a harsh way to start a conversation, but it seems that Brenda knows that this is a way to make a connection with the victim, even if it's just to start a conversation that could lead them to using the resources that the foundation provides. This year, The Guardian published a profile on Brenda. They quote her as saying, "I tell them, look at my footsteps. They are right over there on that corner. They ain't gotta give me the book Prostitution for Dummies, you know? I already know what kind of pain they're in." This unique structure aids in connection, expansion, and perspective on new ways to fight the threats of sex trafficking.
It's hard to trust after being in the streets for so long. Okay, slow down, slow down. Sweetie, you need condoms. I know where pain is. I used to be right out here too.
Brenda was a survivor.
This is one of the most dangerous spots.
That's why I hardly ever come out here.
It was so much control. It was horrible.
Most abusers start out real sweet, and once they start, it's almost impossible to stop.
I'm here to tell each and every one of you today, it is not your fault. Look at my eyes. It's gonna be okay. You didn't know there was somebody that could reach out and hold your hand till you can learn how to walk. What we need is the information to learn how to fight human trafficking. And that's what we did. If you know somebody got your back, you'll make it. You are so courageous. You deserve to be happy. You got any dreams you want to catch?